Well, for a bit of a change, thought I'd do some work on the Sprint today. I'm going to have a look at the two electrical issues that these bikes reputedly have. One is that the wires that go from the battery to the solenoid to the starter are underspecified and put more strain on the system than's warranted. They call them pudding wires, the replacement ones. They're a thicker gauge, I think that they pass more current or something like that. Seems a cheap upgrade, so I thought I'll do that, since a lot of people feel it's necessary. The other thing is they seem to have a charging problem at some point. The rectifiers and regulators give up. Well, there's absolutely nothing wrong with this bike, but I have got a new rectifier and regulator, and it's one that's, they call it MOSFET technology. It's from quite a reputable brand, so I'm going to look at swapping that in as well, in the hope that I won't have a problem with the electrics in this bike while I've got it. So let's see how we get on with that today. And while I'm playing with the Sprint, I thought I'd get the Bonneville out and just let it have a little bit of sun. Gosh, doesn't it look fantastic? To get to the electrics on this, you've got to take the tank off, but before that you've got to take the seat off. Have a quick look. Oh, here's one I prepared earlier. A couple of bolts at the back, which I've undone. Other than that, it's just a couple of hooks, bit at the front, and it looks lovely in there. To get the tank off, you have to undo these and these, so we can move the side panels out a bit because they clip into the sides here. Then there's a narrow bolt that goes all the way across here that we have to undo and pull out, and then the tank should just pull back, undo the fuel lines, hopefully you don't break them, take the tank away. I've already ran the fuel down, so there's not a lot of fuel in it, so hopefully it won't be too heavy to play with. Right, well, these are 5mm Allen screw. Now, these slot over the top, so just pulling them out to the side wasn't the right thing to do. Luckily it's not caused it any damage. Just pull that one up and to the side. Oh, once you spot how it's done, it's so much better. I expected it was going to be a rubber clip, and it wasn't. So let's see if we can get in now. Now, bizarrely, 8mm at this end, 10 at that. So it probably will go on its own. I suspect I'm going to need perhaps a drift on the end of it just to push it out. Now, from recollection, I do think it should go. I should be able to get it past without having to take this off. If I do, I do. We'll have a look. There we go. Right then, so I'll just ask my glamorous assistant to come and give me a hand. Voila! Just remove the battery now. Interesting strap that someone's manufactured. I'll probably reuse that anyway. These can be a bit stiff. Oh, there, that's coming off okay. I always tend to do the neutral first. Quite a nice battery. For this modification, basically you're replacing the wire from the battery to the solenoid, which is the short one, then the wire from the solenoid down to the starter, which is the longest one I think, and then a wire from the crankcase back up, and it's the negative connection on the battery, the longer one. This is probably the more complicated one, in that I think there's a couple of wires you have to splice in at that end, plus it's wrapped in electrician's tape. They've done a really nice job of the loom there that you're going to have to undo and, well, maybe redo it better. Let's see. I always like to do the ones I think are going to be hardest first. Don't know why, maybe it's just a strange personality flaw. The negative one goes inside this, all the way down here to the top of the crankcase. There's a breather tube here from the crankcase. Hopefully, yeah, just pull off. Not sure, is that the clutch cable or something, or whatever? It's, oh no, that's the daft bugger. That's the starter one. So I'm going to clean all this out. That's from the fuel tank. 2 breathers from the fuel tank. I don't think I mentioned before, but they need to go back on. So let's have a go at this. Dog see the rabbit. There we go. Sure, no, it's looking good. Messy here, I can tidy that up afterwards, but the wire that I'm interested in is this one. And hopefully get this on. Make sure I don't lose that baby. Put it in my pocket. And if I take that, so I have to have a look at what's going on underneath here. I think they probably soldered, seeing as it's 2 to 1. What I might do is use Scotch locks or something. I'll have a think about that in a minute. But that'll be the first wire nearly on its way. Yeah, forgive me for thinking they'd be soldered. Although, they do say crimps are considerably better, so I should be able to redo that without any problems. What I've done, I've decided I'm going to leave these crimps and I'm just going to crimp a new connector into each of these. So, quite simply, what I'm going to do, I'm going to cut that. These are just earths, they're not, you know, anything exotic, so I don't need to get too stressed about it. Nifty little tool. See a lot of this in one of my other videos where I'm doing CB750 wiring. That a swizzle. Nice little straight connector. There we go, nicely. I'll position it. Now it seems to go off to one side, it's a shame. Let's give it a pull. No, nicely crimped. Little dinger in the back. So, that's one of them. We'll cut these. Oops. There. And there. Just a little tool. Now these are very good. You can put a fair bit of force on that. It's not going to come undone without giving a fair bit of a fight. So let's do this one. Bit of a swizzle. Right, we're in. A bit enough room to get my tool in, so to speak. Yeah, just check them. Yeah, I'm very happy with them. I'll cover them with some black tape, and I think we're in the business to put that one back on. So, I'll take that out of the way now. Don't want to get confused. That looks good for the first wire on there. Got the other end ready for the battery. That's the hardest one done, in my opinion. Usually when you say that, you're proved wrong. Just remember to pop the breather back on. In fact, that one was on that side, wasn't it? So, happy with that. I'll finish that off in a little while. On to the next one. So we've got the negative in the earth. So we're going to do the strap between the starter and solenoid, and I think it's a fuse holder as well. So both of the next wires go onto here. So there's the fuse. There's the wires we're going to replace. And if the little cover comes off, and we're going to do this one first. So let's have a quick look. It's another 10. That one out, so I'll just put it in the fuse holder. Right, the other end has got, if you can see it down here, roots through. I'll put it back in the same, pretty much the same position it's in. We should put these fuel tank wires out of the way so they don't confuse you and me. And it's here. And that looks like it could be a 10 as well. Will I get in there? No, I don't think I will. Let's get a spanner. So, that's that off. And that routes through here, underneath the breather hoses, underneath whatever that is, all the way through and out. Nice little rubber cover over the top. Let's just see if I can pull that off. If I can, I'll reuse it on the new one. Yeah. Having got the new cable, it would look like that ends the square, that ends the flat one. Length is pretty much the same. So I've put it so that the flatter side is to the actual starter. There's more to it than a normal nut. Interesting. So the routing was through here. It went under that one. It went through there. Ignore the vents for the tank. Over to here. And onto the stud. Right, that's that on. And this end goes on to there. Seems to have a bit of spare here, but we'll see. They were the same length, so maybe we'll have a bit of a fight with the routing. Well, that leaves just this last wire to do now. So, got the starter wire on. We're now on to the wire for the battery. So again, it's a 10. That's that one out. Right, the cover was for a right angle one and it's a straight one, but I think that'll still do the job. So all I need to do now is put this back on. That's all the wires on. Just tidy up and then move on to the next thing. Right, and if I wasn't so ambitious that I'm going to do the regulator and rectifier, that is the job done. Just the battery back on and test it. Yeah, quite pleased with that. Wasn't too difficult.